Lux your way with the Lux Cravings boxes from Taco Bell. There's the classic $5 box, the indulgent $7 box, and a whole new obsession in the $9 box, the Flamin' Hot Grilled Cheese Burrito. Try the Lux Cravings boxes at Taco Bell today.
How's your day going?
Going good. Thank you again.
Check out the all-new Blue and Orange store at the Boise State Hall of Fame. The Blue and Orange store has your best game day gear. We're talking jerseys, hats, bumper stickers, car flags, more than 4,000 hats on the hat wall. If you want the best Boise State gear, make sure you check out the Blue and Orange store online at theblueandorangestore.com or the all-new Blue and Orange store down at the Boise State Allen Noble Hall of Fame.
As sports fans, we may cheer for different teams, but there's one thing that we can all agree on. We want the game to be big. And with 3 levels, 30 cabanas, a 143-foot screen, 6 clean pools, and endless cold drinks, it doesn't get any bigger or any better than Stadium Swim in Las Vegas. All sports, all seasons. It's more than a pool deck. Stadium Swim. It's the only thing like it in the world.
Really, guys?
What? Jackson's always had those game ready.
Let's go!
Hey Bronco Nation, this is Kenzie with Boise State Soccer. When I moved to Boise, I thought I was ready for anything. Training, no problem. Your teammates, bring it on. But driving on snow and ice, yeah, that was a whole new challenge. Here in Boise, winters mean real weather. That's why I'm so grateful for my Ford all-wheel drive. If you're new to Boise or just ready for a safer winter, head to Lithia Ford of Boise. Come check out the full lineup of all-wheel drive vehicles at Lithia Ford of Boise. And when you buy here, you're supporting Boise State athletics. Come see us at Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
Find your sun with Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea. Made with real iced tea and real vodka. Cold, refreshing, and made for moments like these all year long. Let the good times cruise with Sun Cruiser.
When I want Boise State to win, I trust Coach Rice to lead the Broncos to victory.
And when I want the best painting and garage floor coating, I trust rowpaint.com to get that job done right.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live is the only daily show that talks nothing but Boise State sports. And we do it with you. Give us your comments or questions in the ICCU YouTube chat. Or leave us a voicemail on the Signature Roofing voice inbox at speakpipe.com/BNN. BNN broadcasts come from the Sun Cruiser Studios. Sunny days call for Sun Cruiser Vodka Iced Tea, made with real iced tea and real vodka. It's refreshingly smooth and easy to drink. Crack open a Sun Cruiser and let the good times cruise. Bronco Nation News is presented by our title sponsor, Lithia Ford of Boise, and our major sponsors, Taco Bell, Idaho Central Credit Union, RoadPaint.com, and the Blue and Orange Store. At Lithia Ford of Boise, we're proud to stand with Boise State athletics. Through our NIL marketing partnerships, we're investing in the future of student athletes. Lithia Ford of Boise, here to get you there, wherever that may be. Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho. Broadcasting from the Sun Cruiser Studios, here's BJ Rains with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
how we doing, Bronco Nation? Welcome on into a live edition of Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com. We're in the Sun Cruiser studios. Make sure you pick up a Sun Cruiser, whether it's a vodka iced tea, vodka lemonade, pick one up today. And, of course, our title sponsor had fun yesterday being out at Lithia Ford of Boise, seeing Jim Sturk, Jimmy Drake, the whole crew out there. So appreciate Lithia Ford of Boise. And whether it's a new or pre-owned vehicle, they got some great deals on those 2025s because they got to get rid of them to make room for some 2026s. So check out Lithia Ford of Boise online at lithiafordboise.com. My name is BJ Rains, Bronco Nation News. We got Nathan Carroll with us today as well. Been a little while since we've had Nathan on the show, but Nathan, I'm going to phrase this or portray this as you have a ton of great stories lately, a ton of great info. Great day to get you on, and I had nobody else to come on today, and I texted you at 9:30 saying, do you want to come on today? But no, all kidding aside, man, there's some good discussion coming today, and I thought it made sense, and appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, really fun time of year. Got a little bit of football, got a little bit of basketball going on. It's kind of like, basketball's starting to hit that peak, especially with the way the team's playing, 6-1 in the last 7, and then football, we've got spring practices right around the corner, so looking forward to it. But you didn't bring me on just to talk about the Seahawks. And
I was gonna mention that, man. Congrats to your Seahawks.
Yeah, thank you. We've been on cloud nine, man. It's like, I know, as a Chiefs fan, you've been through it too, but it's like, you're just in a good mood for at least a couple of weeks after, when your team wins a championship. So yeah, we're doing good in the Carroll household right now.
Yeah. By the way, I was always wondering what this okay, there it is. Interesting. The Big 12 had this huge announcement they were getting ready to make, and they've been teasing it all this time, and I wondered what it was. And apparently they're being the first organization in the U.S. to use a glass floor LED court for official competition. So both of the league's conference tournament this year will be played on a glass court, and they can change the look and feel and color of it during the game. So interesting.
Did you see when I think it was the All-Star game in the NBA did that last year or 2 years ago? And,
yeah, they say they're going to be the first organization in the U.S., so at least to use this court. It isn't an official competition, so I guess the All-Star game is not necessarily an official competition. Yeah. I don't know. Some people are kind of saying that's it, really. Like they thought it was going to be something bigger, but I thought maybe they're going to pay the players. I wasn't sure what it was going to be, but we'll see. Sounds cool. Looks cool. But speaking of announcements, Nathan, we got the Pac-12 football schedule coming out tonight. 7:30. I kind of like that they're leaning into the after dark prediction. We're not going to get any kind of start times or after dark in terms of the actual game times or anything tonight, but we will get I think the schedule, and it sounds like according to John Canzano's article that there's going to be a set team probably for that last week, and then that could change though. So that's the big news here. There's 8 there's 8 teams in this conference. There's only going to be 7 conference games that will count towards the standings. Everybody's this year because they couldn't find another team because they didn't, people didn't want to have to go pay another bye game at this point. Not a lot of teams even have openings on their schedule. I know some people don't like it, but for 1 year they said, okay, let's just play another team in the conference, one more game, and essentially a non-conference game. But we know everybody needs a game, so let's just play each other again. Won't count for the standings. But it sounds like that the way they decided to do this, according to John Canzano's reporting, is that last game will be a flex game where it can change depending on what needs to happen. But my understanding is, and it sounds like from John's reporting, I guess that is my understanding because I'm reading his reporting. I don't have any other insight, but that it's going to probably be a flex. They're going to actually go ahead and assign them a team. So they could say, okay, Boise State, you're hosting Fresno in the last game of the season. But if Fresno stinks or if you're about to go to the CFP and or whatever, we could change that. If Boise State needs a big game in the last game, they could try to find the best opponent there. If that ends up being Fresno, keep it on the schedule. If Boise State just doesn't need to lose and they could play the worst team, left just to get a win, they could swap them out with, Oregon State or somebody, whoever's doing bad that year, Colorado State. I don't know. Again, it's a 1-year thing. That sounds like that's going to be the case. So it's going to be weird because you're going to have a team on the schedule, but a week before the game, that team could change. And I don't know what the benefit is of that versus just saying, okay, here's the 4 home teams, here's the 4 road teams. I don't know. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more details. We're going to get a lot more info of that. But kind of before we get into maybe predicting a few things or whatever, what do you make of just the way they've decided to set the schedule up this year? And again, 7:30 tonight. I'm not sure. I don't know. There's not like necessarily a Pac-12 network or a channel. I think all the league and then the teams are just going to, I believe, just put this out probably on social media, whatever, around 7:30 tonight. So tonight is finally the night to get the Pac-12 schedule. What do you make of Canzano's reporting and how it kind of looks like it's all going to shape up?
Yeah, well, from the flex schedule perspective, I love it. This is something I've been calling for years in college football because we have this issue of strength of schedule in the sport where you've got 130-something teams and you only play 12 regular season games. I've thought for years include 1 or 2 flex games where, hey, if you're number 5 undefeated but haven't had the toughest strength of schedule, you'll get a game against another team from I had always thought do it with another league. I'd kind of said on Twitter, I think the best case scenario in the long run is you start including a flex game against the American at the end of the year and essentially clearly define yourselves as the 2 top G6 conferences. And every year, pretty much the winner of that game is going to go to the CFP. But for this next year, I think it's good forward thinking. I think it's a better option than just putting in an 8th game and you're just locked in whoever that team is. I'm with you a little bit on if you're going to make it flexible, why announce a team anyways?
Yeah.
I don't totally get the logic behind that. But I think it's a good forward step for the league. And I think the more that college football continues to push boundaries and try new things, I think it's good for the sport. We've talked a lot about like promotion and relegation is something that college football should bring. I think little steps like this of trying new things is going to be the best thing for the sport in the long run.
Now, Bronco Rob says travel with the flex schedule is going to be a problem. Yeah, I mean, if you're Boise State, you hope you have the home game, the last game, and you would think they probably would do it that way. I don't know. You're going into the whole point of this is to position your best teams to have a chance to go to the CFP, and I would think, and I know there's voting that has to be done, and other teams have to agree on all this, but you would think going into the season, Boise State is at least one of your top 4 options to go to the CFP, and so you should be one of the 4 teams you would think that would get a home game. I know that Jeremiah Dickey wants a 7th home game every year. They've talked about that as well. So you would hope if you're a Boise State fan, you won't have to worry about the travel for the flex game because you would at least hope that it's a home game. But we'll wait and see, I guess, on that tonight. Maybe not. Maybe there's other teams that need. I haven't looked at every other team's schedule. I would assume every other team has the opportunity for 2 non-conference home games already, but maybe somebody doesn't, or somebody tried a little harder to get maybe Colorado State asked or something, can we get a home game in the last game? We really need it or whatever. I don't know, but so we'll see. But if we're making quote unquote predictions, you would hope, guess, assume, I guess that Boise State has the final game at home, right?
Yeah, you'd think so. And just from like a schedule prediction standpoint, if you look at the new Pac-12, Boise State played 4 of those teams last year, 2 home, 2 road. But the last time they played, both Wazoo and Oregon State were both at home. So if you want to just say, hey, when did you play this team most recently home road? It would make sense that in the conference slate, Boise State is 4 road, 3 home, and then you slot that last one in as a home game. I don't think travel will be that big of an issue. Teams who make the conference championship already have to book travel, with less than a week's notice. And I
not as easy for media and fans and stuff, though.
That's true. But it was something that I guess, is already happening a little bit. And at least now 3 months in advance, hey, we're going to travel to one of these games. And I think one of the good things about the Pac-12, for the most part, there's pretty good regionality where, if you're a Washington State fan or if you're a Boise State fan and that ends up being a road game, whether it's Oregon State or Washington State, I think those are places that are pretty easy to get to. With that said, I imagine Texas State will probably be on the road for that flex game for that reason, just because it'll be a lot tougher for a Boise fan or a Wazoo fan to travel down to Texas State. So I think travel will work out all right. And I imagine Boise State probably gets a home flex game. I think one of the best things with this flex is you avoid a little bit of what we saw in the Mountain West last year, where you've got a 4-way tie between Boise, UNLV, San Diego State, New Mexico, and you're going to SP plus, to figure out who gets to host and who gets to play in this game. With the flex schedule, you just say, all right, last week of the year, we're going to go, Boise, New Mexico, which I guess that doesn't actually, it won't determine the conference.
Yeah, you're hoping that they're all home and road and that would work out that way, I guess.
Yeah, but in theory, it should help the league. I think it's forward thinking. I think it's a good thing. And again, it's for 1 year. If this was a standard every year, I could understand some frustrations. But sounds like the plan is to add one more team before 2027, so that you can just get to a consistent 8-game 4-4 conference slate.
What if you can't find a good team? I mean, would you rather take a Sac State or somebody just to get another team and have 8 games, or just do this for in a couple more years?
I think that the league is going to be smart about it, and they don't want to make a rash decision, right? Where you bring on a Sac State who ends up being, not to say Sac State would be this, but could be kind of a bottom feeder program. I think part of why they added Texas State is they believe in Texas and the San Marcos market. And that's a program that is investing in athletics. So I don't think they would just take a program just to take a program.
Yeah.
And I wonder if a year from now, they wonder if some of these Mountain West teams are reassessing their position in the Mountain West, and they're hoping to grab a UNLV or New Mexico or Air Force or whoever it may be.
He's Nathan Carroll. My name's BJ Rains. This is Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com. We're in the Sun Cruiser studios. Make sure you pick up a Sun Cruiser, whether it's a vodka iced tea, lemonade iced tea, Sun Cruiser. Crack one open and let the good times cruise. You could do that tonight at 7:30 and watch the schedule release. You could do it, I believe, 8 o'clock for the Grand Canyon, New Mexico game. We'll talk a little basketball and who Boise State needs to win that game tonight as well. We'll have another night in the Mountain West coming up after the game tonight. Thanks to Josh Pastner. Not sure if you saw that or not, Nathan, but Josh Pastner, UNLV coach, joined us live last night after UNLV's win over San Jose State, and looked ahead to the Boise game on Friday as well. So you can go back and get a preview of that Boise State UNLV game with UNLV coach Josh Pastner on last night's Another Night in the Mountain West. Again, our title sponsor, Lithia Ford of Boise. Get out online to LithiaFordBoise.com. Brad says, so what happens with a team projected to be on the bottom is one of the top teams? And then he says, absolutely. Let's see what else. He had one more here. So only half the teams get a scheduled home game the last week, but those 4 are based on projections. I don't know if they are or not, actually. Like I said, some teams just may have requested we need another home game. I don't know how they're deciding that. You would think the league keeps talking about, Nathan, that they're trying to set up the conference for the best position to go to the CFP. You would think then that they would have some sort of projections based into that. But if you're like teams 3 through 7, yeah, I get it. You're probably maybe those teams just got put in a hat. I don't know. Maybe they say, okay, does everybody agree? Boise State's one of the top 4. They should get a home game. Yes. Okay, deal. Does everybody agree? Fresno State, I don't know. But if maybe they're the only one, Boise State, that got guaranteed. The others drew names out of a hat. I don't know. Maybe Boise State's going to be on the road. We don't even know yet what it's going to be. What do you think, though, in terms, there's no perfect way to do this, folks. I don't think you could go into the last week not even knowing if you're home or road. I think you got to at least know for ticket sales, hey, we're selling, because you don't get the times of some of these games till 6 days before anyway. So it's not like so you can put them on your season ticket package, sell single game tickets, and just say, we will have a home game against one of these 4 teams on this week of the season. I don't think you can go home or road. I think you have to decide you're either home or you're either road. And so there's really not a perfect way to do this. Yes, some team might be projected 7th and finish 2nd or be in 2nd place and have to go play a road game in the last game. And if that's the case and they don't want them to lose, they will just find the crappiest home team and have them go play them in that game. But I just don't know how else you can do it.
Yeah, and ultimately, I think it's something you have to do with the pre-scheduled home versus road part of the flex, because it's a 7-game conference slate. Right? If Boise State gets a home game in the flex, you would assume that they're probably only getting 3 home games in conference play. And so this is the way that you prevent teams from only having 5 home games, right? If the school has 3 in real Pac-12 play and then only has 2 non-con, which could be the case for Boise State, like this is how you guarantee at least the 6th home game. So I think you have to do it that way. And then it also it gives, like you said, the ticket sale part of it. If Boise State knows they have a home game, they can market that. I think you have to do it this way. And look, there's a good chance that a team who does have a pre-scheduled road game does pretty well in conference play, because that means they probably have 4 home games in conference play. But yeah, ultimately, I just come back to you get put in a sticky situation where you only have 7 conference games and you need to add one more game, either non-con or conference. You need to figure out a way to do that. And they decided going the flex kind of home and home route would be the best way to go. And I think ultimately that's a smart decision. Now, if they do get stuck long-term at 8 teams, I think like I mentioned earlier, you'd probably like this to be a flex game against the American or against another conference. But we'll see what happens when they get there. Ultimately, I think given the circumstances, it's a good way to go about it. What I'm curious about though is, let's say Boise State hosts Fresno State during conference play, and then you get to that flex game. If Boise State is set as a home team and Fresno set as a road team, will they allow Fresno to travel to Boise again, or will they say no rematches on the same field? Boise, you have to go take one of the other road teams. That's one thing I'm curious.
And then you throw in the fact that I don't know if they would want this or not. Probably not. But you have the conference championship game the next week that a team would be hosting. So how does that factor in terms of not wanting rematches in the last game? Maybe, but if your team needs a big win, maybe you do have them play even if they're. I don't know. I would assume not. You would assume no. If they know the matchup next week is Boise and Fresno, we can't have them play this week again. But if you're Boise State and you're one spot behind Tulane and you need another big win and they're the next best team on your schedule, they're the best option you can play, may not have a choice. I don't know. That part's going to be interesting too. Like you said, it's 1 year, deal with it, move on. I still don't understand why you would go ahead and just give them a game though. If you have a home game, you have a road game. Why assign a team if it could change, which is what John said might happen? Yeah. I would just leave it blank.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't get and my guess is the point of it is for some of these lower level teams that, maybe year one Colorado State isn't expecting to make a Pac-12 championship. Maybe the thought process, hey, for Colorado State fans, like, you're going to travel to, call it Utah State or another team who maybe isn't expected to compete for a Pac-12 championship. And the thought is we probably won't flex this game at the end of the season. I guess I'm trying to sort of rationalize the decision.
Because no fan is buying a ticket knowing that game might change to travel.
Yeah, right. So I'm with you. I think if you're doing the flex game, just call it a flex game. But who knows? Maybe next time you have Jeremiah on, you can ask him why.
Which I think is next week. So his night works out nice. It'll be after this has come out. All right. So I do want to talk basketball. I do want to talk about the depth chart. You wrote some too early predictions for the depth chart for football, for offense and defense. But to kind of wrap this up, what do you want to see? I mean, I would love to. A couple of selfish ones. I would love to go to San Diego. You'd love the San Diego State game to be on the road from a personal perspective. One of my favorite cities in the world. I would love to go to San Diego. Texas State, I'm kind of indifferent on. Net would be kind of cool to go somewhere new and go. But if that's one of the longest trips left, on the schedule, I'd be fine if that was a home game as well. Mm-hmm. What do you guys want to see tonight? Put it in the chat. We'll get to some of these, but I've been to Oregon State, been to Pullman, Washington State. I'm fine either way on those. I mean, the Oregon State's not like the easiest to get to because you got to either drive 8 hours or fly and then rent a car for 2 hours. Washington State, a little easier, fly, rent a car for an hour, whatever it is, 45 minutes, whatever, or just drive 6 hours. Fresno, it's fine. I mean, it's not the greatest city, but you change planes in Vegas. I'd probably prefer the Fresno game be home, I guess, if I had to guess. Don't really care on Utah State. That is one of the easier ones if it is a road game, just to drive 4 hours and get there. I'd be okay either way on Utah State. Don't really care about that one, but whether it be from personal reasons or just competitive reasons for Boise State, Nathan, have you thought about it all? What you hope to see tonight?
Yeah, I think for competitive reasons, you'd like to get some of the tougher road environments at home in year one, right? So you'd probably hope to get Fresno at home. You probably wouldn't mind going back to a San Diego State or going back to a Utah State, some schools that don't have historically great home field advantages. I think you'd probably like to get Texas State at home just because of the travel element. I mean, I think people sometimes underestimate the travel element from just a logistical side of things, right? Like Boise State has traveled to Fresno 1,000 times. The whole staff knows, okay, this is where we want to get food. This is the hotel we want to be in. All the procedural stuff is down. When you go to Texas State, like I imagine this summer that they'll probably do kind of a run through, send one of the ops guys down there, have them, stay at a hotel and figure out the best way to get around. But from a competitive advantage side, you probably just hope to get that one at home year one. Selfishly, getting Wazoo on the road would be fun. I grew up in Spokane, so had Wazoo season tickets growing up. Heading back to Martin Stadium would be a fun thing for me personally. Going to San Diego, I've got family down in Southern California. So that's my selfish desires, but otherwise,
that's all we care about on this show is what we want. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Like it's ultimately what's best for BNN. That's we've put in the request with the Pac-12. We said, hey, this is our preferences. No, I kid. But yeah. So I don't know. Ultimately, my guess is you'd probably expect to have like Fresno and CSU on the road, considering you hosted those two teams last year. Probably expect to get SDSU and Utah State at home. And then, with those Wazoo, Texas State, and Oregon State games, like I said, probably would hope to get Texas State at home. But who knows? Maybe they go the other way and say, hey, Boise's one of our best traveling programs. We want them down in Texas year one to, kind of get to experience that. And we know they'll travel well. So I don't know. I'm excited for it. Excited to finally have like a schedule, right? I feel like the Pac-12 has been one of the last conferences here to announce. Obviously, there's a lot of moving parts. So I'm looking forward to having a schedule and getting to finally kind of break down and talk football games here again soon.
Again, 7:30 tonight, the schedule will come out. We'll have full coverage, articles ready, posting it shortly after that and analysis and stuff. And we can get maybe Nathan to do a breakdown of every game or something, little, capsules and stuff, or we'll figure that out. But we'll have full coverage at 7:30 tonight. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it, if there's some live digital show online or if they're just going to have all the schools send out a release, at the same time or what. But 7:30 is the time. There was a lot of teams teasing about it last night on social media, and the Pac-12, I think, is the one that put 7:30 on their release. And we're not going to get game times, is what John said in his reporting, John Canzano. And I don't even know if we'll get Friday games yet or different days of the week. I guess Texas State cannot play a Friday home game because of their contractual obligations with Texas high school football down there and stuff. So they might get a Thursday home game. So if you do have to play at Texas State, you might have a Thursday road game, which would be a challenge. But I think he said something about every team trying to get a Friday home game, maybe one kind of, so maybe there is a package in there that includes a Friday night game for the Pac-12 on one of those networks or whatever. I don't remember if that was announced or if they're just going to do that, but it does sound like everybody might get one non-Saturday game. I don't know if that'd be for sure be a home game or road game or how that would work out. Both. I guess you have to play two if you're guaranteeing somebody a home game, because then somebody else would have to have a road game too. I don't know. So don't know what we'll get in terms of that. We may just get the very basic weekends. At least we'll have the order and have that, and then maybe some games shifting to Thursday or Friday, or the times will obviously come out later. But as you said, Nathan, at least we'll get the order, the weekend, the bye week, that kind of stuff can start to plan a little bit for all of that here moving forward. So again, 7:30, that will all come out, and then we will discuss it. And Johnny Ballgame will join me tomorrow morning, and we'll have a full breakdown as well. By the way, I will be making my Bronco Studios debut today. I won't be on the 4:00 show, but we're going to be ready to go at 7:30 when the announcement comes out. So I may tape something with Jay this afternoon. So I may end up getting a little heads up, Nathan, on the schedule, so I can tape something with Jay. Haven't gotten anything yet, but I may tape something with Jay that he'll put out at 7:30 on Bronco Studios. So appreciate Jay for asking me, and I said, sure, let's do it. So I'll be on Bronco Studios, maybe a special kind of breaking news edition that we'll post at 7:30. Might tape that this afternoon. I don't know all the logistics. Maybe I'll be down there live at 7:30. I don't know yet, but we'll be on the lookout for that on Bronco Studios. And as I said, we'll have full coverage online on Bronco Nation News. All right, Nathan put out an offensive depth chart, a defensive depth chart. Way too early depth chart predictions. We're not going to run through the whole thing because we only got about 15 minutes left. But I said, give me a couple highlights on each side of the ball, things fans might notice, might be surprised with. Maybe your surest bet, in terms of that. So we'll get to the depth chart predictions for the football team because we're, month and a half from the start of spring ball here in just a second. But I want to thank a couple of great sponsors, and that includes our title sponsor, Lithia Ford of Boise. Online at LithiaFordBoise.com. We had a great time out there yesterday doing the live show with Jay and getting Jim Sturk on to talk about NIL and things like that. And so you heard they've got Matt Wagner, they've got Roger Carrion, they've got Ben Ford, they've got 3 female student athletes as well. So Lithia Ford of Boise is supporting Boise State like nobody else, and you can return the favor. That next car or truck, new, used, make it at Lithia Ford of Boise. Hey, Sun Cruiser, perfect night for some Sun Cruisers with the schedule release for that big Grand Canyon, New Mexico game tonight. whether it's the iced tea vodkas, the vodka lemonades, so many great options and choices. Sun Cruiser. Pick up a Sun Cruiser today and let the good times cruise. Hey, Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. They're the sponsors of our ICCU YouTube chat, so get those comments and thoughts in the YouTube chat. And there's a branch pretty much on every corner, but the easiest, that mobile e-branch online banking right there in your smartphone. So many great options. You don't know what you're missing with Idaho Central Credit Union. Make the switch today, ICCU.com. They've got 7 NIL deals with student athletes. They're back on board as an official partner now of Boise State. So return the favor, like I said, folks. ICCU online, ICCU.com. Hey, if the Broncos can get 75 points on Friday against UNLV, you'll get a 75-cent fountain drink on Sunday from our friends at Jackson's. That's right. 2 days after the game, when the Broncos score 75, home or on the road, you get a 75-cent fountain drink using your Let's Go Rewards app. And don't forget, anytime, day or night, 99-cent coffee or hot chocolate using that Let's Go Rewards app. You can do that. And appreciate Jackson's, and visit a Treasure Valley Jackson's location today. Shout out Taco Bell. You missed it, Nathan. You declined my Super Bowl invite for the party, and some of our sponsors came through, including Sun Cruiser. They gave us a ton of Sun Cruisers for the Super Bowl party, and Taco Bell had like 60 tacos delivered to our house for the Super Bowl party. So we appreciate the Nicolason family, the SON management group, the kids. I thought the kids would be all over it, but I look over and there's all the dads just going down for the Doritos, Locos, tacos there at halftime. So TacoBellWorks.com. You can get more information, and whether it's the award-winning breakfast, the quesadillas there, or the as I said, the Doritos, Locos, tacos, the Cantina Bowls. Visit a Treasure Valley Taco Bell location today. And if you need some Boise State gear, Friday is the stripe out. Don't forget, you got to check the map, see if you're supposed to wear the blue or the orange. I think students are supposed to wear orange. Conveniently matches the seat color there for the students, Nathan. I don't know if they did that on purpose or not, but you got blue or orange. You can wear that for the game on Friday, and check out the gear you need and get it at the Blue and Orange store online at theblueandorangestore.com. Again, the best gear, the best selection, the best prices. The official in-venue provider of Boise State merchandise is the Blue and Orange store. And if you need those customized jerseys, you can get those customized basketball jerseys right there at the Allen Noble Hall of Fame location in minutes. And again, as always, order online anywhere in the world, theblueandorangestore.com. All right, a ton of comments coming in, and Linda says, hey, I just want a true competition at every position, including quarterback. I know that's going to be the big talking point, is the quarterback position this year. I'm sorry, Linda, but I just don't expect that to be the case. It is what it is. If I'm the messenger, if I'm holding Spencer Danielson's water, I don't even know if they're going to say that. I think that whenever Spencer Danielson talks again, we believe in all these guys, but Maddox Madsen's our guy. I could be wrong. And if that's the case, great. Maybe they come out and say that just to have that appearance that it's a true competition with the two freshmen that are coming in, and also Max Cutforth. I don't expect that to be the case. I fully, and most of this is not inside information, whatever. It's what we've heard Spencer Danielson say for 2-3 years. He really believes in Maddox Madsen. He really likes Maddox Madsen, and I just don't see them trying to say he's not the guy this year. I just personally don't. I could be wrong. For all you guys in the chat's sake, I hope I'm wrong, that everybody wants a true competition in all this. I just don't see that happening at the quarterback position. I could be wrong. We'll find out, but I would assume, I know because I've seen it, but you do have Maddox Madsen, shocker, atop your quarterback depth chart here.
Yeah, and the goal here with this was to kind of be a week one depth chart, right? This is what I'd say about quarterback. I'm with you. I think Maddox Madsen is going to be the starter week one. The reality is he struggled against Power 4 competition. We've had those conversations, but at the same time, like, he really has been really good against Pac-12 competition, and I think that's what Spencer and this offensive staff sees in him. There is a lot of good film, particularly in Pac-12 Mountain West play. I think he's the week one starter, but I did pull a little bit of an upset, I guess, and go with Cash Herrera as the backup, because I do think that ultimately this staff believes in these true freshmen and wants them to come in and compete right away. I just think some of the realities of it is Maddox knows the receivers, he knows the offense, he's comfortable with the coaches, and there's a huge trust element to really every position, but especially quarterback, right? Like, ultimately the staff has seen Maddox, they're going to trust him. I think I'll say this about like the competition comments. If Cash Herrera comes in and looks like, true freshman Trevor Lawrence, I don't think the staff is dumb. I don't think they'll just give Maddox the job because he's been around. But ultimately, I think it's a big learning curve for a true freshman to come in and pick up a new playbook, adjust to the speed of the college game. I think Maddox day one is going to be the best option at quarterback. And obviously we haven't even seen Jackson Taylor or Casher. So who knows if these guys are even, talented or good or any of those things. But I wouldn't be shocked if Maddox struggles. I do think Spencer, these guys aren't dumb. They want to win football games. And if they think that one of those true freshmen is the best bet to win games at the end of the year, I think that they'll make that adjustment later on. But week one, I would fully anticipate, I'd say 99.9% it's Maddox. And if it's not, it's probably because of an injury, right? I'd be shocked if someone else wins that job out of fall camp.
I believe we made at least one of these, if not both, free. So folks could try to check these out online. I think the defensive one for sure, whichever the first one was, I believe was free. They might both be free. So check out BroncoNationNews.com. We'd love to have you subscribe. It's like $6 a month right now for the annual subscription. BroncoNationNews.com. Click join VIP up in the upper right-hand corner. And we'd love to have you. You can read all of Nathan's analysis. Chris is doing a great job with recruiting, and he's got some other stuff coming here. I know he's going to talk to the quarterback that committed for 2027 again and have a story on him coming up soon. He's got some other guys that are considering Boise State or have offers that are juniors that he's going to start tracking down. So recruiting coverage, Nathan's analysis, Prater's columns. We'd love to have you at BroncoNationNews.com. Let's just stick to the offense then briefly. Give us one more thought on the offense. Quickly sum up any surprises there, battles there, the offensive depth chart. What are some of your highlights on your prediction here?
Yeah, really good battles all around. I think running back room's loaded. Obviously, you bring in 2 new transfers there. Wide receiver has a bunch of new faces with Latrell Caples graduating and Chris Marshall moving on to Arkansas, I believe. There's really new faces all over the offense. But I think one of the ones I'm most interested is actually offensive tackle. I know offensive line, it's not sexy, it's not receiver, it's not running back, but you lose Gage Casey, who's been a stalwart at left tackle for you, just so steady there, and you have to try to figure out what's next. They bring in a transfer, Tyler Etheridge, who's from CSU Pueblo and really dominated at that level, has the size to play at the Pac-12 level, but it's a big jump, right? It's a big jump in speed. You've got a couple of young guys. Kyle Cox is a redshirt junior and has some experience, got the start in the bowl game at left tackle. Jacob Tracy is a redshirt freshman, a guy who in fall camp, I was pretty impressed with where he was at for being a freshman. And then you've got a couple of young guys or a couple of other guys who didn't see playing time last year in Ohio State transfer, Miles Walker, and I believe it's Alma Taleni is how it's pronounced. A Utah transfer who's from Australia, who's 6'9", 330 pounds, massive human, but just needed a lot of development. Tackle, it's not sexy, but you want to win football games, get great tackle play. I'm really curious to see how that shakes out. And that's going to be a position I'm watching a lot when spring practices do come around. Oh, BJ, we got you muted.
Muted myself there. All right, I said switching to defense. Benny Powell, the transfer from Notre Dame, as someone Skyship has a comment here, wants to see him starting with Ganter. Give us a thought on your defensive depth chart predictions.
Yeah, with safety in particular, I have Tabron Penny Powell a little lower on the list. Obviously, Jaden Mickey came in as a Notre Dame transfer and started and was excellent last year for the Broncos. But Jaden Mickey played a lot of football at Notre Dame. He was a contributor. Tabron Benny Powell did not play at Notre Dame. I don't know much about him. Obviously, we haven't seen him play. We haven't seen him in practice. But gut feel when a guy hasn't played and is dropping down, a lot of times those guys need some time, might need a year. And they brought in Roman Tillman from South Dakota, who was essentially an All-American caliber player for USD last year. I think Derek Ganter probably starts at boundary safety in place of Zion Washington. And I think Roman Tillman, for me, that's the guy I would be betting on with the product, the level of play we've seen from him at the FCS level. That's a guy that I'll be watching closely is Roman Tillman, and that's the guy on defense. One of the guys on defense I'm really excited about. The other one being Jericho Washington Jr. I think we left last year feeling pretty good about the quarterback room. Sherrod Smith looked really good in his limited reps. Franklin Johnson and Demetrius Freeney were two guys who who played more towards the end of the year, and both looked pretty good. And then they go grab Jericho Washington Jr. from Kennesaw State at the CUSA level. This guy was an all-conference USA player 2 years ago, and last year was top 5 in the FBS in pass breakups. They get a guy who has a ton of production at the FBS level. I think Jericho Washington could be a Caleb Biggers type impact transfer who comes in right away and plays at a really high level from a lower level FBS school. So Roman Tillman at safety is someone I'm excited about, but Jericho Washington Jr. at cornerback, I think he and Sherrod Smith have a chance to be as good as Jeremiah Irby and Amarion McCoy last year, which is saying a lot. Both those guys finished all Mountain West. I think both those guys could be all Pac-12 players this year.
You can read both of his predictions, way too early depth chart predictions. Here we are, we're a month and a half away from spring ball, and we're it's the business we're in here. But we made some predictions. You can read his full depth chart predictions right now at BroncoNationNews.com. Like I said, I believe at least one of them is free. Check it out. We hope you subscribe, though, at BroncoNationNews.com. One final football note. The invites did go out for the Combine today. Cage Casey, the only Boise State player to get invited. There are two other Mountain West players, John Michael Gillenborg, the tight end from Wyoming, and Chris Johnson, the DB from San Diego State. Any at all surprise? No Matt Lauder, no Braxton Feely, nobody else from Boise State other than Cage Casey gets a Combine invite.
Yeah, I don't think it's too much of a surprise. Typically the Combine, the way it works is most of the guys invited are guys you'd expect to be drafted. Cage Casey obviously was going to get that invite, and he's a guy that, could potentially be a day 2 pick. But with like a Matt Lauder, with a Braxton Feely, very productive college players, but just don't necessarily have the measurables that the NFL is looking for. Matt Lauder was, I think, 235 listed his senior year, kind of 240, 245 is the benchmark for a lot of these NFL tight ends. Same thing with Braxton Feely. He's only 6 feet tall. He's got shorter arms. Like, just from a draft evaluation standpoint, those aren't guys that are typically going to be, typically aren't going to be guys that NFL teams are fawning over. But as we just saw with the, again, in the Super Bowl, George Holani, he didn't get a Combine invite, didn't get drafted, but, good football players are good football players. I think both those guys have a chance to get on rosters eventually. But yeah, not getting a Combine invite, not totally surprising. It also doesn't mean that they won't get drafted. Every year we see about 25 guys who don't get Combine invites who do get drafted. So just because they didn't get a Combine invite doesn't mean Lauder and Feely aren't going to end up getting drafted in April, right? I think.
Late April. Yep. And we'll probably have Pro Day sometime in March, late March. Typically, we'll find out when that date is. I haven't heard that yet, but yeah, it'll be a lot of guys at Pro Day trying to impress scouts and things, and we'll certainly get some thoughts on that. And our man Adam Engroff does a tremendous job. We've been having him on the last couple of weeks talking about all that kind of stuff. So we might dive in tomorrow with him about whether it be Combine invites and all that kind of stuff on tomorrow when he joins us as well. All right, let's get a thought or two from basketball from Nathan before we get out of here. Do want to thank Signature Roofing online, mysignatureroofing.com. Whether it's a re-roof, a repair, an estimate, or an inspection, you can all your roofing needs. Check out Signature Roofing online at mysignatureroofing.com. And again, the Signature Roofing scoreboard update. Big game tonight, Grand Canyon, New Mexico. We'll discuss that here in a second. Online again, mysignatureroofing.com. Matt Bauscher, BauscherRealEstate.com is his website. 252-9877. You see the team there looking dapper. And Bauscher Real Estate, we appreciate him, his long-standing support of Bronco Nation News. Now the number one selling real estate team in the entire Northwest. And so we appreciate Matt and what he's doing for BNN. And obviously now he's backing it up as a sponsor, part of the home team with Boise State Athletics as well. So Matt Bauscher, again, if you're looking to buy or sell a home, look no further. We did it with Matt, bought our home, sold our home. Nathan's been to my home, can tell you, man, I got super lucky, and it's because of Matt Bauscher working his magic. So check him out online, BauscherRealEstate.com. Hey, Element Fencing, the weather has just been tremendous. I know it's a little kind of dreary today, but it's been tremendous weather. They're staying busy. And the time is now. If you have that fencing project you need to get done, don't put it off any longer. Decks, pergolas, fences, cedar, wrought iron, vinyl. They can do it all. 25 plus years in the fencing company. Brady, the owner, will work with you individually to create that perfect project. Customize it to exactly suit your needs. Again, check them out online, elementfencing.com. Ridley's Family Markets, shopridleys.com. Shopridleys.com. You can find the location near you. There's 13 of them in the Treasure Valley, surrounding states. Just love the hometown feel when you walk into a Ridley's, and you get much better deals and things because you're not having to deal with the corporate conglomerates and things. So you want to support local, support your hometown grocer. That's Ridley's Family Markets. Rowpaint.com, 20% off those winter painting projects, whether it's the concrete coatings, interior, exterior painting, whether it's the painter for a day project. Really enjoyed having Andy Rowe over at the Super Bowl party the other night and catching up with him and his wife and little one. So help out Andy Rowe and Rowe Paint if you can. They got crews that are looking for projects here, folks. Rowpaint.com. Again, online at rowpaint.com. And Transportation Compliance Service, TCS, transcomservice.com is the website. Transportation Compliance Service, local company helping out folks all over the world get signed up for the trucking industry. And whether it's a DOT, overweight all the permits and things, 75% of people that try to do it themselves end up going out of business. So let the professionals handle it and get more information online at transcomservice.com. All right, Nathan, I mentioned last night, another night in the Mountain West, we had Josh Pastner, the UNLV coach, join us live after the 3 games last night. Only 1 game on the docket tonight, but it is a big one. Grand Canyon is hosting New Mexico. New Mexico is a 1.5-point dog, a slight favorite at home for a Grand Canyon, 1.5-point favorite there. And again, after the game is over, we're going to try to get a coach or player from one of the winning teams. If you're not making Tom Moser on another night in the Mountain West, either part of your late night viewing or the next day on delay, you're missing out because he does a tremendous job hosting this show. And I know Nathan's coming down to the conference tournament. We're trying to still work it out to get Tom down there as well. And so we're going to have great coverage in about a month from the Mountain West tournament with BNN. But regardless, right now you need to be watching these shows, and you can go back and watch last night's show here in a little bit because, as I said, we had Josh Pastner on. He talked a lot of Boise State and about the game on Friday. I might play it tomorrow or the next day. But Tom Moser does a tremendous job. Folks are loving Moser in the chat here. I agree. Has a great show. He does. And so you can watch that tonight. I would assume for Boise State perspective, you want New Mexico to lose because you've got the season sweep on them. And if you want to pass them, you need them to lose as many as possible. It is a road game as well. So at this point, since you got swept by Grand Canyon, you're probably not going to be able to pass them in the standings, Nathan. I would assume tonight you're pulling for Grand Canyon at home if you're a Boise State fan, because New Mexico is a team that if you can just get tied with them in the standings, you'll still have the tiebreaker on them.
Yeah, I think you could probably make a case either way. Obviously, you want to be able to get tied with New Mexico since you have the season sweep over them. But New Mexico's got a really tough schedule down the stretch. Right now, they have just the 11th best conference strength of schedule. So they've gotten a lot of the easy teams out of the way. There's more games for New Mexico to lose. But I think ideally, you want to try to jump over Grand Canyon as well. With a loss tonight, Grand Canyon would drop to 8-5, which puts Boise State just 1 game back of being tied since they have the season sweep, essentially 2 games back of Grand Canyon. But at the same time, maybe you just say, hey, you're probably not going to pass Grand Canyon with the schedule they have left. Hope that they win, let them lock up 3rd, and hope that you get into a tiebreak with Nevada and New Mexico, and you can win that tiebreak and finish 4th. So I think there's a little bit of whichever way things go tonight, you can kind of sit back and enjoy the game. And then from there, you have very clear rooting interests the rest of the year with what you want to happen. But should be a really good game and in a really fun atmosphere there in Phoenix at GCU Arena. But I think you can go either way from a Boise State rooting interest on which way to go.
By the way, as an aside, the arena there, they call it the Globe. It's Globe. Global Credit Union Arena. So it's actually, like you said, it's GCU, the name of their college, but also the initials of the company there, Global Credit Union. That is kind of funny how that works out, but they just call it the Globe, and it is a really cool experience for anyone that's never been there tonight. I would suspect Grand Canyon wins that game just with that atmosphere and that crowd, and I'm not really sold on New Mexico, to be honest. I think the last 2 games they played, they were exposed a little bit against Utah State and Boise State. But no, they played twice, and I think Grand Canyon already lost. Didn't New Mexico already beat them in Albuquerque? The one game thing that's actually kind of interesting is Nevada. Nevada only plays Grand Canyon one time, and it was in Nevada. Nevada is the one school that does not have to go to Grand Canyon this year, and they are going to be right there tied in the conference standings, which is why last year I thought it was BS, and I think Nevada was the one that got gypped a year or two ago. They lost out on first place by one game to Utah State, and Utah State did not have to play in Reno, and I thought that was unfair to Nevada. I guess it evens out a little bit this year. Nevada does not have to go to Grand Canyon, but that's why the non-even scheduling in basketball stinks. But I guess we'll see what happens.
Well, and Boise State, I think, certainly got some of the worst of it this year with only getting one game against Fresno and one game against Air Force, who Fresno's been a little bit better this year, but certainly still in that bottom 3-4 teams. And then, Air Force, this might be like the worst team in Mountain West history.
Which is why I actually am okay with the 5 seed this year. And we've talked about this. I almost think there's some better value in the 5 seed than the 4 seed, frankly. I know it sounds crazy to say, and any coach would probably say, yes, he'd rather have the bye. 4 games in 4 days, super tough. I get that. But when your first game on Wednesday is essentially a bye against one of the worst teams in college basketball, as you said, I asked Tom Moser on the show last night, is Air Force the worst team in Mountain West history? And there was a San Jose State team that went 4-27 about 5, 6, 7 years ago, and they finished the season 347th at KenPom. Right now, Air Force is 348. So that's kind of a debate, I guess, that can go on for a little while. But Air Force is not good. Boise State has a ton of depth. And if you have to play on that first game as the 5-12 game and get some confidence for your guys and get used to the arena and everything and kind of move on to the next game, I almost think there's more value to that than sitting around as that 4 seed, letting the 5 seed get all confident and win the game. And you'll worry about your depth on Friday and Saturday. And frankly, I don't think depth's an issue this year for Boise State because of who all they can play. So I am almost thinking the 5 seed's actually better, to be honest. But as you said, I think the 3-4 and how that shapes up going to be interesting because you would prefer to not have to play Grand Canyon in the 4-5 games. So, all those teams are going to be a little tougher, but if you can finish 5 and, Nevada's the 4, I guess, then, you split with them. That's a tough matchup. They're a good team, but I think that's maybe a little better matchup for you than Grand Canyon would be because at least you beat them. And I guess to get to 5, you'd have to be ahead of New Mexico, so they can't be the 4 then if you're the 5, I guess. But I don't know. That's going to be interesting to see. But I don't have a problem with the 5 seed this year for your Boise State.
Yeah, it's really just getting that game is not a matter of upset alert. It's really just miles on bodies more than anything. Because, this Air Force team, their closest game in conference play was by 8 points. Some of their offensive performances, they scored 39 at UNLV, and UNLV is not even like a great defensive team. That's a game that you probably could sleepwalk through, start Bon Blom and Spencer Aarons and still be able to come out with a win. I think, kind of looking forward to the Mountain West tournament, I think you just want to avoid Grand Canyon at all costs. I don't even think Grand Canyon's like some unbeatable team, but I just think it's a bad matchup. I think their length and athleticism has really bothered Boise State, particularly on offense. So whether it's getting the 3, 4, 5, 6, I think you ideally just want to be in a situation where you're getting one of New Mexico or Nevada in that game, which is 2 teams that you've beaten that I think you match up with a little bit better. So yeah, if I'm a Boise State fan, I'd even be fine getting the 6 as long as it means you're getting New Mexico or Nevada in that 3-6 game in the second round. You definitely would rather be the 5 than the 6. San Jose State's like a little bit frisky. Like that is a little bit of
they're significantly better than Air Force.
Yes. Yeah. If you get the 5, like just hope it's Nevada or New Mexico, I guess, in that 4 game. And then, Boise State got a big one against UNLV this Friday. That they've kind of like Grand Canyon, I think, struggled a little bit with the length and athleticism of UNLV. That we had a comment somewhere in the chat saying if you take care of UNLV and Utah State, all of a sudden I think some at-large talks start to ramp up again, which is
I don't know about that.
It seems absurd to say. Well, I don't know if you saw Joe Lenardi already has Boise State in the next 4 out. Again, it's hard to fathom, but if you beat UNLV and then get a quad 1A win against Utah State in Logan, I think you're going to start to see Boise State be last 4 in some of these, bracketology brackets, which, again, like you said, the talks will ramp up. I'm not convinced that they're an at-large team, even if they win out. the talks will ramp up. We'll have to do an article about it, certainly. Like, hey,
yeah. If they win out, they would have Utah State, they would have San Diego State. They'd have some nice wins here. I just don't know if that's that. I mean, the Utah State's the big one because yes, then you have Wyoming, Air Force, and Fresno your next 3 games, and so then then you're at least going to be somewhat talking about it. But I just don't see. I win out, sure, but let's win the next 2 games and then maybe think about it. But right now, it is kind of laughable to at least have them on that list, to be honest. But again, they're not moving up unless they win, so it doesn't really matter that they're there. They'd have to win that game to move up. UNLV, by the way, Tyron Jones, the star freshman who had a big game, he is back. He played last night coming off the bench, so he'll be ready to go Friday. That's kind of a bad beat a little bit for Boise State that he's been out for like 3 weeks and is now back right in time to play them. And he got his first kind of game out of the way last night. But Kamani Hamilton had a big game last night, and of course Gibbs Lawhorn had 32 or whatever it was against Boise State last time. But that was a game without Javen Buchanan that they got to overtime on the road. I mean, UNLV's got some individual players, some good talent. They have some size too, but that's with the way Boise State's playing, and Boise State coming off a nice long break here, and UNLV having to play last night, then travel tomorrow to Boise. I certainly think that's a game Boise State should and frankly needs to win.
Yeah, it definitely need to win for conference seeding perspective, but also just
they're tied, by the way, 7-6 in conference, both UNLV and Boise State. You mentioned it being a big game for seeding. They have the exact same conference record, 7-6. They're tied.
Yep, and you lose that game, all of a sudden, the chance of you getting into that top 4 drops pretty tremendously. But now you got to see, or UNLV as the season sweep, you're losing any tiebreakers to them. So now you're talking about Boise State potentially being like a 7 seed potentially heading into Vegas in the Mountain West tournament. And ultimately, I think for this team, it just comes down to the way Dylan Andrews plays. When Dylan Andrews is playing like the best point guard in the Mountain West, I think this Boise State team is really, really tough to beat. We've seen it for 2 games in a row, but obviously prior to those 2 games, it had been a pretty rough year from an efficiency standpoint for Andrews. If he's playing well, this team, I think absolutely. I know John Buchanan was in here for a while saying Boise State's going to shock the Mountain West. If Dylan Andrews is playing like he's been playing, I think absolutely. And we'll see which version of Dylan Andrews the Broncos get on Friday. I know I'll have an article coming probably today or tomorrow. I don't know when we'll post it, but just talking about the offense. You tweeted it out. Top 5 in Torvix during the 7-game win streak. The offense has turned around for this Boise State offense as of late, in large part because of what Dylan Andrews has been able to do.
Josh bringing up Utah State, a weird Memphis matchup. Not only is it weird that it's like a random Saturday and it's on Valentine's Day, but how about Memphis? They play tomorrow night, a Thursday night game in North Texas, and then they're at North Texas, I believe, on Thursday, and then they'll come up with 1-day rest and play at Utah State on Saturday. Memphis is not having a great year, but they do have some individual talent. I mean, they're a classic Penny Hardaway team that if they decide to play on any given night could probably hang with anybody. But overall haven't had a great year. And like I said, are playing a back-to-back road games and playing 37 hours later or something or earlier at North Texas. I would assume they'll charter right after the game, but still that's just it is a weird scheduling Sunday. Credit for Utah State. They needed a big game. It was the only time it would work in the schedule. They asked the league, give us a bye from the league standings so we can play this game. And I'm looking forward to seeing the game. But it is kind of a weird one there. And that is Saturday. Boise State plays Friday. I think I counted it. Oh, now I can't remember, but I want to say it's like 3 games in 13 days or something for Boise State here, because the way the schedule has worked out, not only did they have this bye, but even before this, they played on the Tuesday against Nevada. Then they played Saturday against New Mexico. So they had Tuesday, Saturday. They got the extra day there. They get the full week essentially Friday, and then they don't play till Wednesday against Utah State. So going into that Utah State game, they will have played 3 games from February, and I guess it's 2 games from February 4th to February 17th. So essentially they're going to have a stretch going into the Utah State game where they've played like 2 games in 14 days, essentially. So I know the depth's not necessarily a big issue, Nathan, but the way the schedule has worked out here, and as I said on the flip side, UNLV has had a pretty condensed schedule here. They had to play Saturday at home against Grand Canyon, Tuesday at home against San Jose, and then now they get Friday on the road in Boise. So a much busier schedule here for UNLV. Boise State's rested now, but even after this game, Boise State gets the extra day Friday night, then don't play till Wednesday in Logan, 4 days off before the Logan game too. So the schedule here is at least right now in Boise State's favor.
Yeah, certainly getting a little bit of schedule luck with the timing of some of these games and the rest that you get in between them, no doubt about it. Obviously you got to take care of UNLV first, which big part of that is just which UNLV decides to show up. Like, just look at UNLV's last 2 games. Last Saturday, they beat Grand Canyon in a really impressive home win. And then last night, they're in a dogfight with San Jose State in a game that, I don't know what Ken Palm had it, but they were probably, 12 to 15 point favorites. Like, this is a team that went into Logan and beat Utah State by double digits and then went into Fresno and lost to Fresno State. Like, UNLV has been as Jekyll and Hyde as a team really as I've ever seen.
Well, somebody said that about Boise State too. Like, I think it was our man BSU Bill. He's like, both these teams have been as 2 crazy of the teams. He said UNLV, BSU, the 2 most inconsistent teams. Wouldn't shock me if we win by 18 or lose by 7.
Yeah. I think that's apt analysis. I think any potential score is on the board. If UNLV plays well and Boise isn't hitting shots, that could be a double-digit game their way. And then likewise, like, UNLV has had major lapses, and if they're playing a bad game, like Boise State by 30 wouldn't shock me at all. But all of that leads into that Logan game against Utah State, which it's been a really tough place for the Broncos to play in recent years. It's a tough place in general, and you definitely like getting the 4 days off before that game. And hopefully, if you're able to beat Utah State this Friday, you're really coming into that game with some confidence.
Yeah.
Which, and I know Leon's talked about it. That's media talk more than it is in their locker room, right? They're just trying to get right for every game. But, I think it's real. I think the confidence part's huge, and, try to knock off UNLV, continue to build momentum heading into that game.
And by the way, speaking of rest and all that, I think Gibbs Lawhorn has played 40 minutes in each of the last 2 games. And so he played Saturday and Tuesday, 80 minutes in like a 4-day span, and now comes into Boise for this game at a little elevation here. And I think he played the full 40 minutes when they were in Boise as well. So he doesn't sit much. I'm sure he's in great physical shape and condition, probably not an issue, but playing 40 minutes back-to-back games with only 2 days rest coming to Boise and traveling, that is something to at least keep an eye on, because if he has 32 points again in Extra Mile Arena, I would say that there's a good chance UNLV could get out of there with a win. So big game. We'll see it. Looking forward to it. Friday night at 8 o'clock. And don't forget, they have the little event beforehand, I believe 6 o'clock. Jay Tuss is going to be emceeing that. We may do our show over there. I'm not sure yet, but there's some I've been briefed on what's happening, and I got to be careful that I don't let stuff out of the bag here. But it's a pretty cool deal. They're going to have the new name for the section, some details on some tickets for the section, and maybe even some discounts if you commit to it now. And that might even include some discounts or free tickets for the rest of this season. I don't know. There's all kinds of things in the works that I've heard, and but it's going to be pretty cool. That new fan wall over there in Section 12, and I think the goal is to kind of get the south end zone rowdies kind of all make Section 12 kind of be like the south end zone, so to speak, and just get it to be a crazy non-student kind of fan section over there. And so they're going to announce the name and have some cool ideas and cool things and cool guests. So whether you want to be part of that, whether you just want a place to pregame and hang out before the game, go on over to the Hall of Fame at 6 o'clock. And I think you have to RSVP today by like 5. They sent out a tweet about it. There's some info online. Make sure you RSVP, and it's free to go hang out and have this thing. And it's going to be pretty cool over there in the Hall of Fame. And then you can just walk over for the game 8 o'clock against UNLV on Friday night. It's a Friday night game on the 13th. So you get the whole weekend off. You get Valentine's Day off. You don't have to worry about going to a game. I think actually schedule wise, you would hope it's a nice crowd on Friday night. No Valentine's Day, no issues, no other games on, whatever. And the team's playing pretty well right now, Nathan. I think it'd be a disappointing if it's not a nice, for Boise State, if they get there on Friday night and it's not a nice crowd.
Yeah, and I mean, you get the 8 o'clock tip, which obviously isn't ideal, but it being Friday night gives people time to head home, get changed, eat dinner, and then head over to Extra Mile Arena. And I think momentum's really starting to build around this team. You can start to feel the excitement a little bit, which is where even something little like Lenardi putting them in the next 4 out, even if you and I are sitting here going, okay, well, if you win out, maybe, but it still seems pretty improbable. I think a lot of more casual fans are going to look at that and say, oh, all right, this team's in the tournament picture again. Like, let's hop on board now and see if they can make another tournament run. So, yeah, I'd expect a pretty good crowd. Not sure if it'll be sold out, but, I think you have a good capacity, and certainly don't think that we'll be having, complaints about, only 3,000 or 4,000 people there. It should be a fun atmosphere.
Yeah, I would think it'd be one of the better atmospheres of the season. I think 8 o'clock on a Friday is perfect. For this reason, like you said, get off work, go have dinner, drinks downtown, head over to the game. There is food and drinks. I believe it's a cash bar. Somebody said, are the drinks free? No, I don't believe they're giving away free drinks at this thing. It's a free thing to attend. There might be some free food, but I think it's a cash bar. But they will have food and drink available over there. But you got to RSVP online. And you can do that through Twitter. I don't know. But again, Pac-12 schedule comes out tonight, 7:30 for the Pac-12 football schedule. Nathan and I and Bronco Nation News will be all over it. We'll have the news story, maybe an analysis piece, all kinds of coverage. Check BroncoNationNews.com later tonight for info on the schedule. It'll be out at 7:30. And then, as I said, Johnny will join me tomorrow, and we'll break it down and then really start to turn our attention towards this game on Friday night with UNLV as well. So go subscribe, BroncoNationNews.com. You can read all of Nathan's work, his offensive, defensive depth chart previews. You mentioned he's working on a analysis piece on the Boise State offense. That'll be up at some point today or tomorrow morning. And so a lot of coverage coming to Bronco Nation News. You can subscribe for 50% off our annual deal right now. That's like $60 or whatever it is for a full year, one-time fee. Just pay it and you're done for the year. We'd love to have you jump on board, BroncoNationNews.com, and check us out. We got the message boards. You can hang and chat with folks in there, and a lot of great content, daily and discussions there on BroncoNationNews.com. So thanks again to Sun Cruiser Studios. Pick up a Sun Cruiser, whether it's an iced tea vodka, lemonade vodka. Pick one up at your local Jackson's or Ridley's or grocery store, gas station today. And, of course, if you're looking for that new or pre-owned vehicle, think Lithia Ford of Boise, folks. No one's providing vehicles more for coaches, administrators, athletes than our friend Jim Sturk at Lithia Ford of Boise. So Lithia Ford of Boise online. Check them out, our title sponsor at Bronco Nation News. Nathan, great stuff, man. Appreciate you, and we'll be looking forward to your next piece coming soon to the site.
Yeah, thanks, BJ. Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me on.
Nathan Carroll does a tremendous job. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And check out BroncoNationNews.com. The schedule's coming out tonight. And again, you may even see me at some point tonight on Bronco Studios with Jay Tust. So stay tuned. Lots of busy day, lots of coverage coming. And we appreciate you guys. Go subscribe. Give us a like here on YouTube, a subscription on your way out the door. And we'll talk to you later. Bronco Nation News Live, BroncoNationNews.com. Take care, everybody.
Hey Bronco Nation, this is Kenzie with Boise State Soccer. In Boise, winters show up strong, and so do we. Between work, family, and everything life throws our way, we need a vehicle we can count. That's why I drive a Ford Bronco with all-wheel drive. Right now, during our all-wheel drive sales event, you can get the safety and reliability you deserve. Come check out the full lineup of all-wheel drive vehicles at Lithia Ford of Boise. And when you buy here, you're supporting Boise State Athletics and Lithia Ford NIL partnerships. Come see us at Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.